Welcome back to All Things Money. I'm your host, David Blain. Thank you for joining us today during our last segment. We're going to talk, first of all, a little bit about there's some impending tax hikes coming in the U.S. If Congress does nothing, hopefully we can prevent what they call tax Armageddon, and just kind of a little glimpse into what may or may not happen. We can look over at France, and normally I don't like to look at France. I don't want to become anything like France. Personally, I like our country the way it is, but they recently elected a socialist president to the leadership of France, and he promised to raise the income tax rate to 75% on all earnings over 1 million euros. And we wanted to look at the effects of that, and so people have been looking at what's been happening. The previous top bracket was 41% on earnings over 72,000 euros, is also set to increase to 45%. So you have the very wealthiest people getting set to pay 75% tax rate. I mean, that's pretty high, 1 million euros. But even down, people earning over 72,000 euros, the tax rate is going to go to 45%. And so we look at Sotheby's Realty said that its French offices sold more than 100 properties valued over 1.7 million euros between April and June this year, a huge increase over 2011. And the head of Sotheby's Realty said that the result of the presidential election had a real impact on sales. Now, how much of that is due to just the rebounding real estate market? We don't know, but the point is that the people involved in this on a day-to-day basis feel like the presidential election had a lot to do with it. They said a large number of wealthy French families are leaving the country as a direct result of the proposal of the new government. And the Swiss tax consultant said that he's been deluged with inquiries from rich French people who would rather pay their tax in Switzerland. We also see the inquiries of French people looking for London homes worth more than £5 million, soared 30% for the first 3 months of this year. So we look at the home sales in France at the high end spiking up. We see inquiries of Swiss tax consultants spiking up. We see inquiries for high-end London real estate spiking up from French people. Now, I realize there's the Olympics going on and things like that, but these were specifically from French people looking to move. So we need to be cautious about this. I think if you look at, we've talked about this on the show before, in California, they rely on a very small number of very wealthy people for their budget, which is one of the reasons they have such big problems, is that they tax these individuals at such a very high rate. And this is not about fairness and things like that. I certainly have my opinion on that. It's about fiscal responsibility, is basing your budgeting and trying to sock it to a few wealthy people. It's just plain bad policy if you're trying to have a stable revenue source. It doesn't have anything to do with fairness or 99 versus 1% or anything like that. It's just bad policy to try to get so much revenue from so few people because they leave and then your revenue goes down. Okay. A couple of things we want to talk the last few minutes here in today's show about insurance. Get a lot of questions about insurance. Of course, we're not insurance agents. We do advise people on insurance issues. We don't sell an insurance product, so we're free to tell you that a lot of the things out there being sold are outright ripoffs. A lot of them are just bad financial decisions. Number one, I see all the time, life insurance for children. Life insurance in general for kids is a huge waste of money. Life insurance should be bought for two reasons. One, to replace income of somebody, or two, for the extremely wealthy. There are some instances for estate planning purposes or people that have small businesses and things like that that need a lot of money quickly for a liquidity event. But children, your 3-year-old is not contributing income to your household. And the argument you always see, well, if they get it now, if they get sick or something and they can't get it later, you know, the percentage of people that it happens to is so minuscule. You're better off putting your money in an education fund or something like that for children. Guaranteed issue life insurance, you know, is the thing you've seen on late night TV. You know, if you apply, you can't be turned down. It's the company, number one, you got to look at the benefits they provide. A lot of times it's just that they return the premiums that you paid to them. They have minimal benefits. The premiums are very high. Anyway, guaranteed issue insurance, you know, for the most part is not worth the money that you pay. Travel and accident insurance, it's a great deal for the insurance company. Most people travel, you know, millions of miles a year, billions of miles a year, arrive safely at their destination. They don't need it. They don't get killed in an accident. And what's the difference between dying in an accident or dying from a heart attack or something? These niche policies are useless, and you don't need them. Life insurance is a tool. It's not an investment, in my opinion. And so therefore, whole life, universal life have a very high hurdle to a company because they're touted as an investment. And I know, you know, the market this, the market that hasn't done the, well, if you have a competent investment advisor like our firm, you know, we have been able to make money for clients the past several years, and you don't need to pay high fees of a whole or universal life policy to achieve it. So in all my years of, and the proof is in the pudding, in all my years of doing this, I've never seen an instance where a whole life policy paid off that was of any substance to the client itself. I've seen some very large term policies that have paid out, that have enabled widows and children to go to college, widows to stay home with their kids, widows to enjoy the lifestyle that they have. But what generally happens with whole life is the value of the insurance compared to the premium is so low that by the time the person needs that insurance, it's kind of like an afterthought to their whole policy planning. And so I just never really see it pay off. People stop paying, they waste the money on it, or by the time they actually need it, that $25,000 policy that their parents gave them, you know, when they were 18 and now they're 75, it just isn't a lot of money, and so they end up wasting money for a lot of years. Well, anyway, that's just a few types of insurance policies. Be very cautious when shopping for insurance. There's a lot of bad policies out there. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's show. I'm glad that you could join us and hope that you'll tune again next week. So for All Things Money, I'm David Blain.
The proceeding was a paid program. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of WNBU and Inner Banks Media.